edit that out.
Waiting for the notification. There it is.
What's going on, folks? We are on here live again this week for another hunt update. So I'm going to go ahead and let Elliott get his links out. Post it over to the Fellowship of the Duck Gun.
Gosh, that guy on those commercials that does the soap thing is on all over the place.
The soap thing?
You know what I'm talking about?
Nope. But real quick, if you guys over here on the live stream haven't joined the Fellowship of the Duck Gun or checked us out on iTunes, we'll just start with the Fellowship of the Duck Gun. If you guys haven't joined us at the Fellowship of the Duck Gun, it's growing every day, growing like crazy. There doesn't go a day go by that we don't have 5 to 10 new people joining the group, and we got a super awesome podcast group. It's not toxic, full of all the jerks, know-it-alls, and all that. Everybody there is to help each other and to help duck hunting as a whole. So definitely would suggest jumping over to the Fellowship of the Duck Gun and joining me and Elliott and the whole fellowship, brotherhood, whatever you want to call it, and sharing our passion for duck hunting. Highly recommended. Also, for all you YouTubers out there that have not joined or subscribed to us on iTunes, you're missing out. We put out a ton of content, and not every one of these actually gets live streamed. Most of them do. And sometimes sections of them don't get added on. But do yourself a favor, do us a favor, and check us out over on iTunes. Elliott, tell me when you're done so I can stop rambling.
I'm just sitting there waiting. I'm good.
All right. So let's go ahead and jump back into the podcast. So, all right. Hunt update number 2. So I think the best way to do this is we'll just kind of split it. I'll go ahead and, because you got one hunt to talk about, I got 2 hunts to talk about.
Whoa. Hold on. Slow down there, Oak Nuts. Slow down.
We're going to jump right into that.
Yeah, I knew that you were going to try to somehow buzz past this, guys.
I wasn't going to.
Last week, as you guys know, Jordan publicly admitted that he has come down with the second case of poison ivy on his genitalia. And second times in, 2 months?
It's been longer than that, man. It was like, I don't even know. It's been like 4 months, right? 5?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's fairly, as far as getting that to happen, I'd say that's pretty close time frame together.
Yeah.
So on Fellowship of the Duck Guns, I don't know who was it. Someone decided.
Ken, I think.
Ken?
Yep.
He decided to come up with a vote of Jordan's new nickname. And he's like, look, Jordan needs a nickname. And since this particular ailment has happened to him several times, we're going to put up a vote for what Jordan's new nickname is going to be. And I immediately just died laughing. And of all you guys, if you have not been and seen this poll, guys, you have got to go Fellowship of the Duck Guns and check this out. Put your vote in there right now. And it actually said on there that I get to choose the name. Did you see that?
I did not read that.
It said it's a vote, but Graybeard gets to pick. That's what it said. So right now I'm going with Oak Nuts. I think that's subject to change. I may decide to, go with Red Balls a different time, or I don't know. I'll see how far I can play this out. One thing about me is I'm extremely obsessive, so I could probably roll this out for quite a while.
Yeah, it's probably going to stick. It's too bad I can't give a steroid shot to you, but... But yeah.
Get over there and vote, guys, and if you come up with a new nickname that's even better than that.
Unfortunately, it seems like Oak Nuts is the one that's sticking, because I've had multiple people this week text me and call me Oak Nuts. I'm like, oh, great.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah. So,
okay.
Yeah, anyways, yeah. Anything else you want to hit on before we jump into the hunts? Normally we have a little bit of talk about how things are going, but I guess one thing we should mention before we talk about our previous hunts is we got the Kansas hunt rolling up, and man, I'm super pumped.
Yeah, it's coming like real soon. We're going to be doing it soon.
Yeah.
Next podcast will probably be from there.
I was a little bit more pumped till you gave me the scouting report about how there's no birds in Kansas.
There's no reasons for concern. There's not as many birds there right now as what we would like to see. But we've got a front coming in Thursday that's going to take care of everything. So don't you worry.
If there's not a lot of birds, can I sky bust?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to jump on you and hold you down, but also I'm not going to be chasing your birds. So
That's what I'm bringing Chief for.
I don't know. Can Chief do 300-yard retrieves through cattails?
Yeah, well, I guess I don't sky bust that high because I don't know if I've ever had a duck go that far.
Oh, you haven't? Last year I sailed one. I wasn't sky busting, but man, it was the hardest retrieve of my life through waist deep, smart, really, really thick smartweed, some of which was frozen. And luckily I ended up finding that thing. But man, it was the hardest retrieve of my life. Yeah, sometimes they can sail. If you keep watching, sometimes they'll sail and die 300 yards away.
Yeah, we actually had that happen on the field hunt for geese, where we had a group come over top, and it was probably stretching for how far I normally like to shoot. But they came in range, and we shot I think 3 of them down, but 2 were sailors, and they sailed about 200 yards. And you could see them sailing, and they just landed and died right where they sailed to. So
a lot of times I'll see them flying, and I can just, for whatever reason, I guess I've done it long enough, I can tell that they're gonna die, and they'll like die midair because they'll go 150, 200, 250 yards, and it's like someone shot them again. They'll just all of a sudden, boom, just crumple and drop dead. It's really odd.
Yeah, I haven't seen that a lot. That is pretty crazy. Honestly, that's the first time I can think of. One other time, and the whole time I've been hunting, where they've sailed that far and we've retrieved them, 200 to 300 yards away. Yeah. And it was on geese again, so maybe geese a little harder to knock down sometimes.
I'd say it probably happens to me 2 or 3 times a year, where I see that.
Yeah, it's that stinking cylinder choke you're using.
I don't know. I lost 2 birds out of 110, so I'm sticking with that chip.
Just giving you a hard time. But yeah, but we're gonna be joined by Ben from Foulfront, so we'll definitely be doing some collaboration on podcasts with him as well as going out in the hunts, and we're bringing our whole family. So you guys have heard us talk about this a few times for sure, but we're all pumped. It's time to start thinking about packing up and getting everything in order, and hopefully the year and a half old kid doesn't cry for 10 hours straight while we drive.
I can't wait to see her. She's such a sweetie. Beth's gonna be all over her, hugging her, and
Awesome.
But yeah, it's Fumbles, Golden Boy, Golden. Oak Nuts, Little Benny Baby Boy, and Graybeard.
Yeah.
Ben does kind of have a baby face.
We got to come up with a different name for you, because everybody else has like one that's like, it's not endearing. It's like we got one guy who can't hold on to stuff. Golden Boy actually is an endearing term. And we got Baby Ben, Oak Nuts, and we got Graybeard, or maybe like Rumpelstiltskin or something.
That would be hilarious.
Is that the right name, Rumpelstiltskin?
Yeah, it's that guy that like
was. You like went in the mountains and slept for 1,000 years or something weird.
Yeah, they would like weave gold and stuff.
Yeah, sounds like you. So, all right, let's jump into the the hunts before everybody tunes out. But yeah, so I guess the best way to do this is I'll start with my hunt, then we'll hit your hunt up in the middle, and then we'll finish with my second hunt. So, sound good?
Sounds great.
Yeah, we're gonna have to, you have to get on a couple more hunts here eventually, so that
next
we
time
have
I'll be
hunts
2. Next time it'll be 2.
There we go. That's what I'm talking about. So let's jump into it. So my first hunt is what I'm calling for my series, the YouTube series. I'm calling it the Early Season Michigan Tour because I'm going goose hunting and teal hunting and kind of hitting up fields and marshes and all that. So the first hunt I went on, went out to Michigan and just went out for a goose hunt and was invited up there again by Kevin and Kevin, so 2 dudes from Michigan that follow along the YouTube videos, and they said they had a hayfield filled with geese, and I'm like, heck yeah, man, I'm all in. So
Are those
I drove
the same guys
there.
you went out with the first weekend?
Yep. Okay. So this one had a little bit of better outcome, but they had I don't know if it was 150, 200 geese in this hayfield, but We got out there, set out full bodies and silhouettes, and we had this perfect little kind of point into the field where these trees were coming up. And you saw the video, Elliott, right?
Oh, the cover was fantastic.
Yeah, it was perfect. I mean, it was these little tiny trees, and they're like small enough that we could break them and like get top cover, but we could like cut it out. So it was all natural vegetation. We just pushed right into it and put all the decoys out in front of us. And sure enough, I think it was probably about 8 o'clock, the geese started rolling in, and I mean, it was almost nonstop. We just had geese to work, and we had one group work in right away, and they maybe circled 2 or 3 times, and they came in and they ended up decoying. I mean, it was like 15 yards looking us right in the face. I mean, a couple had landed by the time the shot was called. But yeah, I was able to pick up 2 with the first shot right there. So that was pretty awesome. I don't know if I've ever collateraled with geese, of all things. I was just aiming at the first one, and another one snuck in behind it, and you can see in the video where pull the trigger and they both just kind of somersault and land right there. That's the boss.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I actually replayed that when I was watching the video. I couldn't quite tell. I thought maybe you had done that, but I couldn't quite tell. So you shot 2 with that first shot.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. It's like I said, it's sometimes it's super hard to tell, but I played it over and over and did step-by-step frame, and it looks like they just line up perfectly, and the one shot just busts them both. So, yeah, pretty cool. But then immediately after that, I just whiffed both shots. So, I guess that's how it goes. It's just
still 2 for 3.
Yeah, no, it was getting back into the shooting rhythm. I went and led the next goose. I led him like you'd lead a normal shot, I guess, or a shot where the bird's moving, but this goose was just coming off the ground, so it was kind of like pumped his wings and just barely going. But yeah, I missed the next 2 shots. But it was a pretty good day as far as that. We just had groups that just kept working in there after that. I'm trying to remember. Oh, well, one thing I definitely want to hit up on was Chief. And this is Chief's first hunt where he got to retrieve from last season. And you guys have been following along, and you know how much time and work I put in with Chief, just almost every day for most of the off season. We've been working on stuff and getting it rolling. So, yeah. What were your impressions of Chief there?
His drive was phenomenal. I was now. Correct me if I'm wrong. I thought last year you told me that he hadn't been trained to retrieve doubles. Did you tell me that last year? Like he struggled to go out and get doubles, or was he doing doubles last year?
Honestly, I don't remember what I said.
I was thinking when you came that he was struggling on doubles, but he did that first flock that came in, which was the cream of the crop. As far as I could tell, the one you're talking about when they all landed, he did a quadruple retrieve on that, and he obeyed you perfectly. His desire was insanely high. He looked great. That right off the bat, yeah. I was like, wow, he's looking phenomenal. I
was honestly super impressed with him, and it was super weird. One thing about it, like his drive has definitely gone up, and that was something I was trying to work on in the off season, which is something that's kind of hard to work on with a dog is drive. But I'm super careful around that, like as far as like I'm not an expert, so I've stayed away from the force fetch, and all the dog trainers are going to tell me, oh, that doesn't affect drive and all that. But if you do it wrong, I'm sure it does. And so just being afraid to do that myself or nervous, I strayed away from that and a lot of things and just worked on a lot of power work and working up that drive. But that first flock came in, and when we shot him, and this is not necessarily a positive thing. A lot of people don't like a dog that whines in the blind. But Chief was just, he was just livid. I don't know how to explain the noises he was making. It was like super high-pitched whine.
Really weird sounding whines.
Yeah, no, I thought he was injured. I went up there and checked. In the video you can go see. I'm like, oh, it's all right, buddy. Like, I thought maybe he got like tangled up in the blind, or his foot went through like one of the holes or something, or I don't know. I thought he was hurt, but no, he was fine. He just missed goose hunting just as bad as me, I guess, because
yeah.
As soon as those birds landed, he was just whining like crazy. But I released him, and he ran out there and grabbed the first bird. And this is the first time in 2 years that he's retrieved a goose out of the field. And when he tried to do it when he was a 1-year-old pup, actually it's like 1.5-year-old pup, he couldn't pick them up. He would just like drag them on the ground. So this year he could pick them up just fine, like no additional training. I was super nervous about that, honestly, but he could pick them up and bring them back. We even had live ones. He was bringing them back alive, like all the way back, and then I'd line them up for a line and tell him back. And like you said, his drive was awesome. He was just running out there. We did have a little trouble. He was like so excited, couldn't get him to whistle sit at one point. But worked on that kind of mid hunt. But no, that was kind of the highlight for me, honestly. The birds coming in that group. We definitely had some other groups working pretty decent. Shot some where they're passing over us at really close distance, like 10-yard passing shot. Like I said, they couldn't see us in that brush at all, and they're just used to flying over it. And we lost a couple. He found them in the brush, really thick cover, and was able to search them out. And Chief was definitely the MVP of that hunt, just with those retrieves and finding the lost geese. He found a few that we wouldn't have found otherwise. But yeah, just can't tell you how proud I was of Chief to do on that hunt. So probably he's going to come to Kansas now and embarrass me, but but he did great on that hunt.
He did great. So did you end up with, because you shot a double on a different pass, did you end up with 4 or 5 geese for yourself?
Well, that's the thing, because every time you shoot, you don't know who else is hitting them. So I'm sure I think I hit 5, or at least shot at 5 that died at the same time I was shooting too, because we had that one that came right overhead right after that first group, and someone else, actually I think both Kevins actually shot at it as well. And so I know more than one of us claimed. I didn't actually claim it, someone else did, but I think I hit that one as well. And then on that passing shot, there's just 3 that died where you said I shot the double, and who knows, someone else could have hit them as well. I just don't want to be like a bird claimer and say, oh, I shot my limit of 5 out of 12. So it's just,
yeah. So I think on those, now you haven't logged on hunt stats.
No, I got it wrote out on paper. I need to get over there and fill out
the way I do it, then I would count that as 4, because you're basically saying you shot 3 by yourself, and there's 2 that are in question, so you take splits on both those 2, and give yourself 4. That's what I would do.
Gotcha.
So which kind of becomes odd sometimes, because so like if you and I are hunting and we split on the first one, we each count that as 1 bird for our records. If we split on the second one, then we have 2 ducks, and we're still only at 1 bird. So that's how we do it.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I'll definitely go over there and add that stuff as well. On the hunt stats, that's something that we should hit on for sure. But we're going to be keeping track of our FDH hunt stats all season long. Just really cool to look back on and get those logged. Keeping track of shooting percentage and weather and all that good stuff.
Yep. Mine was very quick log, man. I logged mine in about 2 seconds.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's good for you. So
it's picking up. People are starting to join. Starting to get some new memberships come in with the freelance hunt stats. So I'd say it's going well. I can't wait to actually get some success in there.
Yeah, no, it's really exciting to get the successful hunts in. And actually, I was excited to get those in there, just with content and all that, getting that pushed out this week. It kind of got pushed to the wayside, but
well, when I was out hunting, I wanted you to do well so bad, because you've just been on this stupid cold streak and you needed something to break it out. And I was thinking, it was midway through my hunt, and I got a text from you did well, and I told Phil, I was like, this is weird, but I think I would have preferred Jordan to do well today than to me.
Well, I appreciate that. So yeah, it's definitely,
you just needed a breakout, man.
Yeah, I just needed something, yeah, I just didn't want to have it like last season, where it was just a terrible start to everything. So this season, we did have the skunks the first 2 of the season, but after that, it's kind of been, 12 is a pretty good hunt. I'll take that any day of the week. But yeah, and we got some on the Teal hunt too. So, but before we jump to that, let's go ahead and talk about your Missouri trip, or your Missouri hunt.
Yeah, so this is only my 3rd hunt ever in Missouri, and I have yet to kill a bird in Missouri. So I take that back. 2 hunts, because one was a youth hunt where I wasn't even shooting. So I've actually been on 2 hunts in which I had a loaded weapon myself, but I had a really, really enjoyable time. So I met this guy. It's kind of a weird way that I met him, because He was a fan of freelance duck hunting YouTube videos, and I didn't know him, and it just so turned out that our wives knew each other, and I live right on the border, real close to Missouri, so um, his wife and him were watching the videos, and his wife recognized me from seeing my picture on Facebook because she's friends with my wife. So she called my wife and she's like, "Does your husband do waterfowl videos?" and so he had been a fan and had been watching him and everything. So we ended up going out to eat dinner and everything, and he became a steady contributor to Fellowship of the Duck Guns with his posts and everything.
See, I thought that he looked familiar and his decoys looked familiar from your video.
Yeah,
So
he
that's the
posts.
guy.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's the guy.
cool.
Yeah, he's a duck decoy carver. And actually, he doesn't carve them for selling them. He doesn't carve them for sitting on a mantle, which I think this is the coolest thing in the world. If I was a carver, this is what I would do. He carves them to actually hunt over them. And so he's got about 30 huntable decoys that he uses during big duck season. Excuse me. So we got connected and everything, and about 3 weeks ago, he was posting pictures of some spots he had with teal on it and everything, and he ended up inviting me. So there was actually teal using this spot 3 weeks ago, or maybe it was 4 weeks ago. Then we had a bunch of rain come in, the water levels went way up, and really good habitat went to not so good habitat. So we scouted it the week before, and we didn't see a single teal the week before the hunt. So I was not. In fact, I publicly predicted a skunk on the hunt. I was like, it's going to be a skunker. It's going to be a skunker.
That's really unfortunate. I was hoping you do well as well, just going out there because, last week you're saying you're thinking about not getting the license and just filming it, and I'm like, get the license, you're gonna regret it, and
Yeah.
then you get the skunk.
Well, it was only $11. So I bought all my Missouri stuff, but then a one day is $11. So it's $80 for the whole year. So if I go on 7 hunts and I just buy in one day, I'll still save $3. And there's no way that I'm going to hunt more than I'm not going to hunt 8 times in Missouri this year. I really doubt it. So if I just do my best way is just to do that each day, $11 per day, and just do it that way. Now that
That's
I got
crazy,
my stamp
man.
and stuff.
I feel like $11 for a license to hunt waterfowl is unheard of, man.
Per day,
Yeah.
like it's high.
No, the opposite. Like for
Oh,
me to
low.
get like a Michigan license is like it was like just the base license. I had to buy a base license. Well, I guess for the year, base license like $150. I was like just shy of
Wow.
200 by the end of buying the Michigan stuff.
Wow. I better check my licenses and make sure I had everything I needed, because it sounded a little like I only paid $17, and I better double check and make
You
sure I
bought like a
purchased
resident
everything.
license or something.
I don't know. I need to go back and double check and make sure I had everything, because I'm like, I paid $17. There's no way that's the right amount. But no, it's just I'm sure it is, because now because I was thinking the hunting license was 11 per day, and then I bought the stamp. So yeah, I got everything I needed. So yeah,
Okay. Nice.
it would have been just around 100 for the whole year,
Okay.
17 for the one day, and then 11 days.
Yeah.
I got scared for a second that I was like
Incriminating
had got
yourself.
because I was thinking, well, I got a stamp and but no, I paid everything. So I'll probably be back there. But one thing I've been talking to some people about, and about how making videos in this 4 years of FDH has regressed me on the stages of hunting. I'm not going to go through all the stages of hunting, but essentially at the beginning, you just want to shoot your gun. Then you want to fill limits. Then you want to get trophies. Then you just are there for the experience, and then you mentor. Those are kind of the stages. And I feel like before I started filming FDH, I was in just enjoying the experience. I mean, I just didn't worry about how we were doing. I was just strictly out there to enjoy it. Now, that being said, I still really, really wanted to shoot birds. And if I went through a 4 or 5, 6 hunt time in which we weren't shooting them, then I would certainly start getting annoyed and upset about it. I'm talking about hunt by hunt. Could I go on a hunt or two in a row where we weren't doing very well and still thoroughly enjoy the event, right? Excuse me. And through filming FDH, I started to become a lot more pressurized to have success, and especially after the first 2 seasons were so bad. And so I felt myself kind of regressing on the scale of like needing to do well, needing to shoot limits. So I decided before this hunt, Actually, I decided it on the hunt because we got out there, we put our kayaks on, we portaged them, we were going down this little creek, the stars were everywhere, and I was just thinking about it. And I was like, you know what? I am going to enjoy every single second of being out here and hunting, and I'm not even going to worry about whether we shoot them or not. And I fully succeeded. I had an absolutely wonderful time with Phil talking about his carving, drinking coffee under the stars. I mean, we just had a phenomenal time, and not shooting a bird really didn't affect it. And that's what I wanted. I don't want to make sure that I'm recapturing that in myself. That I'm not, the last thing I want to be is a kill dependent hunter, where if I don't kill something, that I'm not happy. Obviously, if we'd shot a limit, it would be more fun. And I mean, if we go out with you and coming in town and we don't do well this weekend, I'm sure I will be disappointed, um, because I want it to be successful and everything. But I certainly want to be to the point where I can go on a hunt, not do well, and thoroughly enjoy it.
Yeah.
And so I did that. I accomplished that goal.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. So we had some wood ducks decoy right in, which was fun. We had a goose fly right over our heads we could have killed. That was fun. We had some coffee. We ended up exploring that area. And I don't know if you saw the picture that I posted on the Flyaway Collective's message message group. We found this little hidden timber hole out there that's hard to get to, and it's a phenomenal looking little place. So I said the day was a success. It was fun.
Yeah. No, it looked like a perfect place to be out there and hunting, and it's always cool to explore new places. I think that's one of the kind of under talked about things in duck hunting, that going out in places that you wouldn't go out to otherwise and exploring. Um, it sounds kind of weird, but like that's something you did a lot as a kid, or at least I did, going out in the woods and exploring and finding new places. And even now, but having like the added benefit of like, oh, are ducks going to be able to come in this spot, or ducks going to be attracted to this spot, and you're just going out and exploring and looking at the habitat, and just it's like that picture you posted, you're like a perfect little honey hole. And it's just it's awesome to explore those places, and it even makes it better when it ends up holding ducks in season.
Yeah, and you're just daydreaming about mallards coming over the trees and just like
Yeah.
coming straight down it, and
Yeah, you like
just
look
see the
around in a
potential.
circle, and you're like,
Yeah,
oh yeah, we could hide here. Set the decoys there. The birds will
yeah,
drop in there, and
yeah, yeah. We did a lot of that, and with Phil, when next time we didn't use his carved decoys because he doesn't have a full set of teal decoys, but he and I are definitely going to go on a hunt this year where we're just hunting strictly over his carved decoys, and man, I can't even. That is going to be super cool.
yep. No, that sounds awesome. So I'll be looking forward to that one as well. So, um, yeah, I think that brings us to the next hunt in there. Unless you got anything else to add.
Nope, that was my day.
Alrighty. Well, next part, I guess, before I talk about the next hunt. So I actually did before after I got done with the goose hunt. This is how I'm gonna talk about this. So, after I got done with the goose hunt, and Elliott, you already know this, but otherwise I'd say you're gonna love it. But you already know what happened, and but I went out to explore and hunt scout. I actually was planning to do like an afternoon hunt scout at a Teal spot. There's this marsh I was told about. I actually did some internet research and figured all out how to get on there and go in there. But going out there solo, just me and Chief out in the canoe, and we get done with the goose hunt. I'm camping up there in Michigan. I drove another 2.5 hours north from where I goose hunted, and this whole Michigan early season tour weekend honestly was a ton of fun, just because it's like I said, it was just like the exploring aspect, or going to places never been. And I don't know, it was just kind of crazy to do that kind of stuff where you're just going and you don't really have like a set in stone plan. But we got done early enough in the goose hunt, I'm like, man, I'm gonna go check out this marsh and maybe even check out another one, just to kind of scout for future reference and check it out. But we go out to this marsh and we're just canoeing along and just exploring. I paddled for an hour. Like I paddled way out to the back of this thing, going through these bogs that like weaved in and out, and get to the other side. And the whole time I'm like flushing up ducks, and I flushed up like a few mallards, like no joke, at like 10 yards from me, just sitting on the dirt, or the mud, whatever you want to say. But but yeah, just getting out there. And so finally I find a spot that I'm thinking that would be great to set up and hunt. And so I'm going to back up into this bog. There's like this little cutout. And so I start pushing the canoe in there to set up in the bog. And I give it a shot a couple times trying to get out of the canoe and, you know, put a foot on one side, but it's just like muck and it goes forever. Like there's no bottom. And, you know, pretty scary, honestly. You're like, I don't know. You've definitely been in places like that where it's like it's got a bottom, but like it might as well be 1,000 feet deep because you're not going to be able to stand on it. So these bogs though that we're floating in, and I don't have very much experience with bogs either, but you'd like try to put some pressure on it, they just crumple away. And I had Chief jump on it and he just broke through it. And I'm like, well, I'm definitely not going to fit through it. So I try to like just push the canoe up in it and set up that way. Have you ever tried it?
Let me make sure, because we don't have bogs in Kansas here, but here's my understanding of it. You've got water under and you get debris that comes together and floats above the water, but it looks solid, but it's actually not.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
It almost is solid. Like a lot of times, from what I've heard, and I don't have very much experience with them either, but you can like get on them and hunt on them. But it's like you said, it's like a floating island of dirt, and like even weeds will grow on it. Like I had tall grass on it. I thought it was an island, but I got up there and it was a bog. And you talk to other people, and they talked about bogs, hunting from bogs, but I've never done anything like that. And I feel like I just said the word bog 15 times, but but yeah, so I didn't feel secure getting on the bog because I felt like I could just bust through at any point and then be standing on like muck that would be bottomless and then just break away more of the bog as I tried to get back on it. So I ended up trying to stay in the canoe, which wasn't my first option. I was hoping I could get out there and set up the Marsh and then be in the canoe by myself, but me and Chief both in it. And so I'm pushing it up onto this bog, or back into it, trying to get it so I could hide. And, you know, I was getting kind of pretty close to where I thought I'd be good. I literally, while I was doing that, had 2 ducks land like at 10 yards from me. So I'm like, I'm in the right place.
Were they
but
teal?
Anyway, no, they're wood ducks, but
Can you shoot? Was it only teal season up there?
it's just teal up there. I definitely saw some teal though while I was paddling around. And the person I'd talked to about this had limited out an opening day, so 2-man limit. So there's definitely teal in the area. It was a good little spot, but yeah, I went to go on that bog, and all of a sudden, one side of my canoe just broke through the bog, and so it was like you can see it in the video. Like I'm wearing the GoPro, and so like my canoe, just the left side of it just breaks through the bog, and it's like all my weight all of a sudden, you know, on that left side, and then both me and Chief are leaning that way, and water starts rushing into the canoe. It actually, like, the water kind of exploded up as like the canoe hit, but it filled up the canoe, and I was able to right us before we were completely submerged. But yeah, we had like 3 inches of water in the bottom of the canoe and nowhere for me to get out and empty it, and I'm an hour paddled in, so it was honestly a little bit of a bad situation.
Sounds like it, man. I haven't watched the video yet. I'm gonna watch it tonight. I can't wait to watch it now.
Yeah. And so in the process though, my vlog camera, which I was getting ready to film something, I literally just had set it down while I was trying to, you know, set up and do like, you know, the intro from the spot and all that kind of stuff, but it got drenched. You know, pretty much it was on the edge where the water all rushed in, so it just rushed in over top of it and covered it, and it just was completely done. So I ended up losing some of my like footage from that as well, and the camera just won't turn on and it's done, so lost my vlog camera to that. But yeah, so at that point I'm like, you know what, like I'm an hour in here, it's gonna take even longer to paddle back. I'm not gonna wait till after dark. I just need to go back now. Because even at that point, I'm like, I don't even know if I remember how to get back.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, I just left right then, and I made it all the way back. But it was literally like canoeing a bathtub because it was just full of water, and all of us, and like I had like an inch clearance from the top of the canoe to the water. So it's like if Chief moved like a muscle, I was like all tense because, you know, I didn't want to go one way or the other and start taking on water again. So. But yeah, that's probably a good example of why you don't hunt by yourself, or be careful when you're hunting by yourself.
Yeah, I'd say be careful. I'm certainly going to hunt by myself, but
I am too.
You got to be careful. It's
Yeah.
fun hunting by yourself.
Yep. So that kind of put a little bit of a damper on it because, I lost my camera, my gear, a lot of my gear, my gloves, my coat, everything got soaked. And I'm not going home. It's not like I can, change it out for dry gear. I'm going back to a campsite and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, that pretty much is the end of that day. And go back to the campsite. Really couldn't even dry out my stuff that well, but me and Chief camped right there. It was like by a river. Had actually a pretty cool campsite. Just backed up my truck to a tree and hooked up the hammock. I'm a big fan of hammocks. I know you've never tried one, Elliott, but you need to someday.
No, I have. I have now.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I slept in one on the Kansas River and loved it. Absolutely
I told you. There's it's like sleeping in a lazy boy.
Yeah, you're totally right.
I love it. So yeah, if you guys haven't tried hammocks, like seriously, like this isn't the 90s anymore. You don't need a Coleman pop-up tent. Just get a hammock.
I didn't think I would get comfortable in them. I didn't think I would be comfortable, but I was.
So everybody is so skeptical of hammocks, and I don't know why. But like I won't camp any other way. Like it's 30 degrees out. I'd rather be in a hammock than in a tent. And like Hunter was the same way when we went on our Steelhead trip this spring, and he slept on the ground, and he was way colder than I was, and I was up in a hammock, wrapped in a blanket, and it's just awesome.
Well, the ground just sucks the warmth right out of your body.
That's exactly.
If you don't have a ground, in fact, all those sleeping bags when they say they're 0 degrees or 30 degrees, that's a rating, assuming you're gonna have a ground mat.
Yeah.
If you don't have a ground mat, I don't care what, if you have a 0 degree on a 20 degree night, you don't have a ground mat, you're going to be cold. Is that ground just sucks it right out of you.
Yeah. The only thing I would say that I haven't done is like on a super windy night, like if your tent kind of breaks the wind compared to a hammock, and then a sleeping bag if you don't have something that breaks the wind. Yeah. But, I love my hammock camping. So was able to do that. Actually, the first time I ever camped over a duck hunt. So that was awesome. And Ryan actually came out to the campsite and met me. He's the guy who invited me out there to teal hunt with him. So that was cool. Sat around the fire and just chatted about Michigan and duck hunting and fishing. So that was great. But then we headed out to it was actually a really big marsh, one of the biggest marshes I've ever been to. All public land. It was pretty sweet. We were the only group out there too. But yeah, we just went out there first thing in the morning, kayaks, canoes, jet sleds, and just pulling everything. And we made a pretty good trek across the marsh to get on this little island and set up. And man, as the morning kind of woke up, there's just birds everywhere. We had flocks of mallards cupping into the decoys. We had flocks of gadwall cupping into the decoys. I mean, like 10 to 15
Wow.
a couple times, and even calling, and they'd circle back and come right in.
Nice.
We had wood duck in the decoys at first light. We had teal in it. And the thing about Michigan is different than Kansas. But you can't shoot till 30 minutes after, actual sunrise instead of 30 minutes before.
Yeah,
so
I hate that law. It's like the same in Missouri. We would have killed one to a teal on that one hunt if they didn't have that stupid law.
Yeah, we would have too. But honestly, I think it's good for like newer guys because there was a few I couldn't tell, which you just don't shoot if you can't tell. But we definitely could have killed at least one or two at first light. Before that came around, before shooting light came around. But kind of at the end of it, we had birds working it all day, wood ducks everywhere, groups of mallards. Like it was just, there really was a show, like a waterfowl show for us, which is awesome. The only thing lacking was the teal, though. So,
did you get video of these other ducks?
Yeah, I did get some, but I didn't have my big camera to point at anything, which kind of stinks. And then, so I did some cell phone footage, but and I got some GoPro working in, and I haven't seen how good yet because I haven't been able to jump on the editing. This is the third video from the trip, so hopefully I get that one going. And it might be out by the time this is on iTunes, but it's not out right now. So yeah, no, it was great. But we did eventually have a couple teal work in and busted those. So, and then we had one shot at a goose, and it kind of flared because Ryan was out of the blind. I can't remember I think he was about to do a lap, and we had a solo goose work in. But yeah, no, just a ton of fun. And at the end of the video, I just said something, and I'll kind of reiterate it now, but I just feel, super blessed to be able to go and do trips like these and go out there. And yeah, I didn't slay teal on the second hunt, and I had a bad kind of experience going out there in the layout boat. with almost, losing my gear and all that kind of stuff. But it was just super fun, honestly, to go on this adventure, drive up north into Michigan and, making these connections we've made just through doing podcasts and YouTube stuff, or otherwise, this trip kind of wouldn't have been possible. But it's just like, in the current situation I am now, it's like to be able to do something like that where I can go out solo, just meet up with different people and make this little Michigan early season tour. Was just really cool, honestly, at the end of the day to do that. So that's kind of my takeaway from the whole trip.
Yeah. So you got 4 hunts under your belt now?
Well, yeah. I guess I won't count the one where the canoe sunk.
Our rule is if you have to have a gun loaded sitting for 45 minutes for it to be a hunt.
Okay.
We got rules for everything.
Well, that one wasn't a hunt, so yeah.
That's our rule.
Yeah. So got skunked in the first 2. This week I didn't get skunked at all this weekend. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Well, my friend, it won't be long until we are hanging out and on some birds. So
yeah, I'm definitely pumped about going to Kansas, and like you said, 0% chance of getting skunked, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would. It's never 0%, but I mean, it pretty much is. It's the lowest percentage you can imagine. I would think.
Well, yeah, it's gonna be awesome. I super awesome to go out there, and really appreciate you inviting me to come out there and hunt Kansas with you. I think I said this last week too, but it's almost like full circle. One of the things early season I've always done is watch the Freelance Teal hunt videos while I'm sitting in Indiana, just wondering what to do, twiddling my thumbs. And this year, I'll get to join the FDH crew and be an unofficial member for the weekend, and
yeah.
Definitely pumped about that.
Well, and the cool thing about it is this is authentic Kansas, where when you came to my house before, it's kind of like a hybrid between Kansas and Missouri, but you are going into the heart of Kansas, where I grew up learning how to duck hunt. This is like home to me. Prairie marshes and hills where you can see off, hundreds of miles off into the distance. So I'm really excited just to give you a tour of the whole complex and sit on that lodge and have a drink and look out over the refuge. And man, I just can't even wait, man. I just cannot wait.
No, it's going to be great. So I can't wait as well, and bringing our wives and everything. We've talked about this a ton, but like, man, I don't know. Just stuff like this that's just made possible by, we just met doing the podcast and YouTube stuff, and here we are like, now you're one of my best buds, and coming out to hang out for the weekend and hunt, and it's just gonna be awesome. So,
and you'll get to meet Georgie.
Yeah, I get to meet the dog and bring Chief, and hopefully this one doesn't bite Chief. And
I don't think Georgie will cower. Chief better mind himself.
He's actually so I don't know if I told you this from the last weekend. The guy brought a new dog, and it was like a 1-year-old pup. And it was like reverse rules, because Chief was the one getting chased around and sniffed, and he's like, "What is going on?" Like, and it was I just had to laugh and smile because I've seen him in the past, and it's like it feels like there's a big difference in him from this year to last year, like his maturity level, which is weird to say about a dog, but this is my first time going through the stages with a dog, and he's just almost like a different dog this year.
Yeah,
so
cool.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, you're gonna have to help me do a 10-minute retrieve session with Georgie. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I'll be glad.
You can You can be the bumper thrower.
All right.
I'm moving into that transition from me throwing it, to having someone else go off in a distance to work on our marketing stuff. So that would be really fun if you'd do that with me.
Awesome. Hey, are the dogs gonna stay at? Where do they stay at?
Dog friendly, and it's a dog friendly place.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
But have the kennel there so that if
Yeah, no, I got it. I'll have it in the
if
truck.
the dogs are running wild, then we can put them away when we want to be chill.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, before we wrap this up, unless you got anything else to add.
Nope.
Well, before we wrap this up, make sure, guys, to check out Titus from Mid Valley Mercenary, the MVM show. He is our brother podcast over there, putting out some great content all the time. And they just actually put a podcast this week. Him and Matt from High Prairie Sportsman, they had the first official Flyways Collective collab, and then Elliott and mine will be the second official Flyways Collective collab, which kind of leads me into the second thing. Make sure to check out all the guys from the Flyway. It's me, Duck Gun Chronicles, Elliott, Freelance Duck Hunting, Thomas, Virginia Outdoors Unlimited, Matt from High Prairie Sportsman, Titus from Mid Valley Mercenary, and Josh from Outdoor Limits. That is the Flyways Collective. Right now we're super overweighted in the Central Flyway. It's like they get a bunch of ducks or something. I don't know. But and also make sure to jump over and give us a review. We're still doing the giveaway for the barrel stickers. I think we've been forgetting to mention that here recently, but we still got some left. So be sure to drop us the 5-star. Send me an email at Duck Gun Chronicles, and I'll send a barrel sticker your way. We love seeing the photos that you guys are putting up and sending to us of you guys rocking that. And also, last thing I'm gonna mention to you guys is we got hats up on the Flyway Collective website. So if you want to support the podcast, we got some Duck Gun hats up there as well. So we appreciate it. Alrighty, Elliott, any last words?
Nope.
Alrighty, this is all we got for this week, guys. I'm Jordan from Duck Gun Chronicles, Elliott from Freelance Duck Hunting. We're going to be in Kansas next weekend, and we'll see you guys next week.